I can demo if one sec. Okay, spreadsheets again. Um, we are now looking at sort of moving away from having both the SQL pane showing and editing in here to more of an inline editing situation. So one thing that's changed up front is that you can't just type A1 anymore. You now have to start with an equals. Um, so do that. Um, but now I can click in and edit inline. And you'll see that like I typed A1 initially, but now this is A2, this is A3, this is A4, etc. And I can edit in here and say like plus B1, right? And you'll note that like now I have three nulls because I typed down here A5 plus B1, and up here we're actually going to show more of a ref error, but basically like above this is B0 and B negative one. So the formula no longer really works. So you can edit inline. That's a big one. This is sort of lined up with it. So like I can also do my editing up here and it'll, link back and hit enter and get my results. An interesting thing is like we aren't really expressly working on pivots, but pivots work pretty well. Like if I pop in here and just set this to A1, oh, my own problems. Um, then like I'm editing both pivots at once, and the UI is pretty clear about that for the time being. So A1 plus 10. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else interesting to show. I think
Column
that's
moving, column moving.
call. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let me bump that down. So we're on A1 plus 10, and you know, the one of the like key reasons to use A1 is just because it's like easy to reference rather than using the actual field name. And you might be worried that like if A1 is no longer in the A position, are things going to work? So if you pull these over and switch, you can see that it's just changing A1 to B1 and back again. So you aren't going to lose your reference because really, like, we don't actually hang on to your references at all. We throw them away and we unparse back from the generated SQL, which you still can see if you go into edit calculation over here. So we're just unparsing this back to over here. So we don't really care if you wrote A or B. I think that's it.
So amazing.
Have we given it to any customers to play with? Not yet.
Not yet.
Just
No,
me.
I have a couple in mind that if we're down, I know Richard's down, but yeah, I think there's some people we could start sharing it with, or at least letting them know about the feature flag.
Yeah, I mean, I think uh, actually Bill was the one who first brought this up that it would be a lot more useful if we have the A and B references in the table, which we'd always planned to do, but I think pushing that forward and making sure we get that in would make this a lot more useful. And then you can actually like see what you're doing rather than guessing at who's A and who's B. Um, I'm not sure, other than that, like there's a bunch of nice to haves that will be coming in the future, like, showing what you're referencing on the table and being able to interact with the table a little bit more. But in terms of minimum viable product, I feel like we're really close.
Yeah, and let us know if you want like a focused group for this, because I also have a couple customers in mind too.
Richard, I just had a question on the pivots. I wasn't sure exactly. I saw you were referencing like A1 in the pivots, and that's like a
Mm-hmm.
fixed position. Can you reference like the pivot field itself?
So let me just pivot again. And so the thing is that users age here is A and users count is B. And then over here, this is B again. So if I say like, just for the simple case of B1, it'll just be this value here and this value here. So like you can
Oh, I
reference
see. It
the
is
whole
doing the pivot.
field.
Okay. It's not like an
Uh-huh.
absolute.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. That was where I was a little
exactly.
confused.
Yeah. So you can kind of think of it as like this is A, this is B, this is C, like across. and then it starts over with B and C again without your dimensions. So we were kind of considering that we might just put A, B, C, and then stop or repeat. Something
Yeah.
like that
Okay.
to sort of indicate how pivots work.
Okay.
We're hand waving around a little bit of the pivot UX just because it gets so tricky. Like I was telling Richard and Ariel, Excel doesn't even let you make calcs in pivot table, I think because of these sorts of challenges. So we're gonna have to figure out some stylistic things here that actually don't match Excel perfectly. But this is like a really, really good default because this is usually
Yeah.
what the user intends.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's why I was wondering, because I was like, wait a second, is it an absolute like reference to that top corner cell? But it's not. It's a pivot.
Yeah. At some point we'll have to figure out more of the pivot UX, but we just are punting on pivots for now because they're complicated. However, they do work fairly well and fairly intuitive, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense with the way we do other things with pivots, right? When you add a calculation and do stuff, you get a add all the. I think it's great.